You're listening to Success Stalkers Radio, episode number 12, with Vince DeRuyter. Welcome to Success Stalkers Radio. I am your host, Iona Garrett. People all over the globe are rewriting the rules to success. They're making money and changing the world. Join me Monday through Friday as I interview today's top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and entertainers that will leave you inspired to take action and achieve success on purpose. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Okay, Success Stalkers, let's get started. I am your host, Iona Garrett, and this is another episode of Success Stalkers Radio. I am simply thrilled to introduce my guest today, Vince DeRuyter. Vince, are you ready to stalk success today?
Oh, yes, I am, Iona.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Vince DeRuyter is an author and sports recruiter, is a native of New Orleans, and he attended prestigious Purdue University. And as a sports writer, Vince's job consisted of, assisting high school athletes in their quest to earn athletic scholarships, which is a very expensive service. So in search of an affordable alternative to assist athletes, Vince decided to write a how-to book called Proudest. After writing his first book, Vince quickly developed a passion for writing and made a personal challenge to write a novel with characters and a storyline. He made his debut in the urban fiction books genre in July 2013 with his book Mega Dollars, Mega Problems. So Vincent, I have given our listeners just a little overview about you, and I want you to just take a minute to tell us about you personally, because we want to get to know you, and then give us an overview, of your success path.
Okay, well, basically my journey as an author started with me trying to develop an alternative. Many student athletes that I was dealing with as a sports recruiter, they were coming to me stating they needed our service, but their family couldn't afford it. This hit me in the heart because I wanted every young athlete to have a fair chance at living out their dream and going to college. So my solution was to write a how-to guide, which I titled Proudest. Instead of paying $200 or $150 to $200, they could pay $15, and these athletes were able to obtain the information and then apply the information to enhance their chances of obtaining an athletic scholarship. Then one day I was on Instagram, and I presented myself as an author. One urban fiction author found, when he saw the comment, he commented that I wasn't a traditional author. I couldn't claim myself to be an author, so I kind of felt my pride got in the way, and I kind of felt disrespected. This provided a fuel for me to challenge myself to write a story with a plot and characters, and this is how my first ebook, Mega Dollars, Mega Problems, came into play.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Okay. Well, what I want to do is dive into your journey a little bit later, but before we do that, we always like to do here at Success Stalkers Radio is to start off with a success quote. So what is one of your favorite success quotes? We want to get the motivational ball rolling. So take it away.
Well, due to my background as a sports recruiter, one of my favorite quotes is from the Hall of Fame coach of the Green Bay Packers, the late, great Vince Lombardi. And that quote goes, "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing." Basically, what I have done is I treat life as a game. When we participate in playing a game, we tend to dig down deep and do whatever it takes to win. So I decided to apply that value with life. Now I take life as a game, and I basically play to win.
I love that. You took the words right out of my mouth, because I was going to ask you, how have you applied that to your journey? And you just answered that question before I could even ask. So that's good. All right. Well, Vince, also here, as Success Stalkers Radio, we are all about your story and all about the journey. So before we really dive deeper into the journey, before we do that, what I want to talk about first is one of your failures as you've been writing as an author, or just on your career path, even as a sports recruiter. What would you say has been a failure, a time when you fell flat on your face And, we want you to take us there with you. Share that moment with us and make us feel like we're right there. And then talk to us about some lessons that you learned from that failure.
Well, a failure I had is I had a kiosk where I was selling T-shirts, and I had immediate success. Wrestling was it was hot. It was a thing like kids and adults were watching wrestling around the clock every Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I obtained some wrestling T-shirts, and things were hot. Business was booming. I enjoyed the success, but then when it died down, that's when I didn't know how to pick it back up. I didn't know how to counteract that, and that's where the business failed, and I basically fell flat on my face, and I couldn't recover. So it was good when it initially started, but once it got bad, I didn't have the business sense to recuperate.
Mhm.
And
Right.
some people have that. It's like when things are going good, it's great, but when things are going bad, some people, we don't know how to face that adversity. We don't know how to change that adversity. And at that point in my life, I didn't know how to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that. What would you say looking back, what lessons would you say you've learned, from that?
Well, it's basically another mantra that failure is linked to success.
I
When
agree.
when you presented a new goal or a new task, the probability of failing is high. In my case, I had success first. Usually you have the failure first, and then you have to learn from the failure to gain success. In my case back then, I had the success first, and then when the failure came, I was unable to adapt. I was unable to regroup and get back on the right path. And that's why I embrace failure now, because I know in order to get where you're going, you're going to have to fail. And that's why I say failure is linked to success. It's like you must be able to take a clean shot in the face. And this shot may knock you down, but the key is, do you have the determination and inner strength to get back up? This is this is what separates, people who move on to bigger and better things as opposed to the people who stay stuck in neutral.
Right, right. Because most people don't see those failures as a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone on the way to success. And I had to learn that. Actually, I learned it later on as an entrepreneur. I didn't learn it in the beginning, which we never really do. But it was. I've had several failures, and I actually talk about that on another episode. On our show. But I've had many failures and I've had many successes. But every one of those failures, I learned something that I have actually been able to apply even today, and it has even helped me to create this platform, Success Talkers Radio, from even the failures. So I agree with you 100% when you say those failures will always lead you or link you to success. So that's great. Good information.
Right. Even in present day, with me and my quest to be an author, I see failures, every week. But it's all about maintaining that inner strength and getting over the hump, because sometimes you can fail, but that failure is going to lead to bigger and better things. You just have to have you have to have the mental toughness to hang in there.
Right, right. I agree. I agree. So Vince, let's go forward, and as we transition to another end of the spectrum, which is what I call the aha moment or that light bulb moment. Because just like you've had some lessons that you've learned from failures, I know you've also had some amazing ideas, and some of them have probably helped you to become successful as an author right now. So just tell us one story if you can remember a story, and remember this is about the journey, the story. We want to be right there with you. So just give us one of those that you can share with us. And once you do that, let us know how it actually helped you to achieve success, even in your writing.
Okay, well, the moment is a fairly recent moment. The moment that light went off was when I picked up books by multiple authors. Prior to reading other authors' works, I doubted my writing. In my mind, I didn't believe the story was good enough. I thought about quitting and thought about not publishing an urban fiction novel at all. Then I read a few books by other authors and I realized my material was just as good as theirs. When I discovered this, that helped me get over the intimidation factor, and that's when that light went off that I can't do this.
And I never forget those moments.
Right, because I can remember clearly. I was in the bookstore reading a book, and then when I put it down, I took a moment and I was like, what I wrote is just as good as this. And that instilled confidence in me because goals that we try to achieve, confidence is half of the journey. If you're not confident in it, then it won't get done.
Right. Sometimes we can sell ourselves short, and those. That's good that you had that particular aha moment to really show you that you're greater than you even realize.
Correct.
So let's shift the focus for a minute because I want to shine the spotlight on you for just a moment. What would you say is one of your most proudest entrepreneurial moments in your career so far, thus far? What are you most proud of?
What I'm most proud of is my first ebook, Mega Dollars, Mega Problems. Because like I said, I had the doubt because I was probably the achievement of prize athlete, but my intentions wasn't to become an author. My intentions was to make an alternative, a cheaper alternative for the high school kids to enhance their chances of gaining an athletic scholarship. And my journey to writing Mega Dollars, Mega Problems, I faced a lot of challenges because I had to develop characters, I had to develop a storyline, and it wasn't something I was accustomed to. It wasn't something I went to school for. So when I was able to do that, it was a prideful moment when the book went live on Amazon Kindle and people started downloading it. That was like a big moment for me.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
That's wonderful. I love hearing those stories because it's so inspiring. There's someone out there listening to us. And they're going to be inspired by what you just said because they're probably sitting on the fence right now, wondering if their idea, if their storyline is good enough. To step out there and put that book together. And so, hearing your message, hearing your story, is going to inspire someone. So I'm really happy for you and happy for even people that are going to, be listening to this episode.
Yeah, because I learned that your first fan as an author, your first fan with anything you do has to be yourself because if you don't believe in yourself, how you expect others to believe in you? How would I expect others to believe in my writing? Yes, this is a good story. If I'm not believing this is a good story, so that's one of the things I learned through my journey.
Absolutely. You have to believe, have to have that belief in yourself and in what you're doing because it radiates, it comes through your work.
Exactly.
So, we both know as entrepreneurs, it can be a roller coaster of emotions. Some days you're up, and then the next 24 to 48 hours you can be just down. So and frustrated and ready to quit. So tell us, how you keep your focus. What is it that keeps you grounded and keeps that end result in mind for you each day? What do you do?
My main focus is not to let a situation intimidate me. Sometimes a person it's human nature to allow intimidation to become a factor and you don't follow through properly to reach your goal. Um, Another thing I must say that kind of held me back and made me put the paper and pen down as far as starting my first urban fiction is the fear factor. Because, for example, if you go through school and your mother's like, oh, my son, my daughter, A or B student, you're used to success. You're used to success. But with that success, you get the fear of failure. And that's something I had within me. I had to overcome that fear because I wanted to become an author because, like I said, the author that made the comments about me, he fueled the fire. But at the same time, I had the fear to fail because it was something new to me.
Right,
So
of course.
overcoming that fear is definitely key.
Absolutely. I can relate to that because even starting this podcast, initially, and I'm going to share this in another episode, but, this is not Success Stalkers is not new. It's actually something that birthed inside of me 5 years ago, and but there were so many things that I allowed to get in the way, and fear was definitely one of them. And even fast forwarding, even getting this off the ground today. This particular launch that we're going through this spring, it was just such a challenge, and fear crept in, and I had so many opportunities to say, what, it's not time, it's not ready, I'm not ready. There were times I would wake up in the middle of the night, like just like sweating, like, oh, what am I doing, this is not going to work. And all those things is just an imposter syndrome, talking to you, just trying to hold you back. And we all go through that. So, and I'm so glad that we're talking about fear, because there's somebody that's going to be listening to this that's going through that right now, and they need to hear that someone else, okay, they're going through it too. So, you know what? He made it, he did it, so I can do it too.
Oh, most definitely.
So, and the thing is, what new projects are you working on? I know as an entrepreneur, we always have something that we're working on. So, you have anything exciting you want to share with us that you're working on?
Well, as I stated before, my first ebook that was published July 2013 is Mega Dollars, Mega Problems. And that's a story about a guy in New Orleans. He lived in New Orleans. He was a garbage collector. And he's in his mid-30s, and he's purely disgusted with life. He feels as though he's an underachiever and nothing is going his way. And then all of a sudden, one day, he goes into the store, buys this lottery ticket, and he instantly becomes a millionaire. And then the story goes on from there and gives you an inside look at what happens when the average person wins the lottery. And that is Mega Dollars, Mega Problems, which is now available on Amazon Kindle. My current ebook is Do As I Say, and Do As I Say is basically the topic of discussion is domestic violence. And as we all know, domestic violence is a problem all over the country. But with this book, I created a twist, and the story basically entails the male being the victim of the domestic violence. And it's another side of the spectrum that we really don't visit too often, because
True.
it's like cliche to always talk about the woman, but men do get abused, but it's kind of under the radar, and I was trying to bring that to light.
Yeah, that's good. You're absolutely right, and it's not talked about enough, and I do know of situations like that, so it's definitely not unheard of, and that's definitely a great book. I'm definitely going to get that. I need to get both of them actually. So I'm looking for. You got to make sure you let us know when that one's coming out. Is it going to be coming out soon?
Oh,
Do as
well,
I say.
that is also available on Amazon Kindle. It debuted last week, and yes, so both of them are now available for download on Amazon Kindle. You can download it to your Kindles, iPhones, or Droids.
Oh, good, good deal. We're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end too. So now what we have reached is my favorite part of the interview, which is called the success round. And here what I want to do, Vince, is throw some questions at you, and then you come back at me with some knockout answers. Is that fair enough?
Sounds good.
So what was it that held you back? And I think you kind of touched on this before. What was it that held you back before becoming an author?
Well, basically, as I stated earlier, failure and intimidation were the main ingredients that held me back and made me push projects back, because I didn't want to face failure, because it's like we don't know how to react to failure, especially if we're not accustomed to failing. So that was one of my fears. So that failure actually led to fear.
Looking back now that you overcame that fear and pushed through that hurdle, looking back now, you surely see it was not as bad as you thought it was. So, what would you say to that as far as how to overcome that? How do you feel? How did you feel? Let me ask you this: how did you feel once you overcame the fear?
It was a good feeling. It was like you get the feeling of invincibility, like you could do anything if you dedicate the time, dedicate the effort, and realize that it's going to be hard work because sometimes we tend to want things to come easy, but that's not always the case. And some people that we see that are successful, we may see the rewards that they have, but we don't see the hard work that they put into obtaining those rewards. And that's one thing I instill in my mind that you have to work hard in order to get to where you want to go because you see somebody in a certain position and you be like, I want to be like that person, but behind closed doors you don't understand the hard labor that that person is putting in to obtain his or her goals.
Well, Vince, what is the best business advice you've ever received?
The best business advice I ever received was to stalk people who are successful
I love it.
in what you're trying to accomplish.
I love
And
that.
basically, the person that told me this, they told me to study the person and see if you can configure a blueprint to catapult yourself to the same status as that person. And that's something I've implemented into my life and into my journey.
Wow. So you are a success stalker. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Very
I love
appropriate.
it. Very much so. I love it. Well, can you share one of your daily personal habits that you have that you could say that attributes to your success? Something that you do every day that helps you.
Okay, what helps me, like when I'm writing a story or when I'm writing a scene, is when I sit at the computer, I may close my eyes and just visualize the scene I want to write.
Mhm.
Because as an author, your goal is to entertain. I
Right.
try to write stories the readers can visualize like they're writing a movie. So I try it myself. I'll visualize, and what I see, that's what I write.
Okay.
And that's something I do on a daily basis.
That's good. That's good. I love stories, and that's why even in this interview, that's why I'm always telling my guests, take us there. We want to be right there with you because it's all about the story. And obviously, if you're an author, you got to be a good storyteller. So yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. So what book? I know we just recommended your two books, but I know there's some books out there that you've probably read that's probably inspired you and helped you. And I know you kind of touched on some things earlier in the beginning of this interview, but what book would you recommend to our listeners?
One of my favorite books I purchased from Barnes and Nobles, I believe, that I recommend is Don't Sweat the Small Stuff by Richard Carlson.
Okay.
And basically this book is about motivation and how motivation built up to its highest point when you have a clear head. So this book assists the individual with the task of minimizing the stress and the doubt within yourself.
Yeah, because the small things don't matter anyway in the grand
Yeah,
scheme of things.
the small worries and the stress, they can derail you from your goal, and that's what this book speaks on.
That's good stuff. You're dropping some good nuggets on us today. Well, my last question is imagine you woke up tomorrow morning, Vince, in a brand new world, identical to Earth, but you knew no one. You still have all of your experience that you have today, all the knowledge that you have today, and your food is taken care of, your shelter's taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do in the next 7 days?
Being the author that I am, I would write a book about my experience in the old world and
Okay.
the challenges I face in the new world. I will I will allow my status as an author to help facilitate my quest to create bonds with new people, with from a social and a business aspect.
Wow, that's a
And
great answer. I
and
love it.
that's how I would carry it. I mean, I would be the first entrepreneur of that new world.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Well, Vince, hearing your journey today has truly been inspiring, and I know our listeners have really enjoyed hearing your story and your journey. And if you can, what parting piece of advice or guidance would you offer to our listeners today?
Most importantly, I advise them if you have a goal or a dream you want to accomplish, go in feeling confident. Do not allow intimidation or doubt to derail your journey to success. I recommend preparing for a glimpse of failure to allow yourself to develop that inner strength to overcome the adversity. Sometimes the pain of failure can be intense, but if you hang in there, success is right around the corner. Because sometimes you could be right on the brink of success, and the pain of the failures consumes you, and then you give up when you're right there. And that's sad. That's the sad part about some journeys that some people have. But if you hang in there just that much longer, those good things, those rewards are just around the corner. And that's my attitude, and that's what I believe.
That's good. I believe the same. I do. That's good stuff. Well, what's the best way that people can find you, Vince?
Well, they can find me on Instagram, and on Instagram you can find me at Vince underscore DeRuyter. That's DWRITER.
Okay.
And on Twitter they can find me at DeRuyter Vince.
Okay, at DeRuyter Vince. Good deal.
Yes. And also, as far as the link, if they want to surf through the net to check out some of my books, you can go to Amazon.com/author/Vince DeRuyter.
All right, that's good. Good stuff. Well, Vince, also our listeners, I know they've gotten some great takeaways and some good nuggets from you today and tips, and everything we're chatting about today will also be available, to them as well, at our website, which is successstalkers.com/Vince DeRuyter. So you'll have your show notes page there with everything we talked about today, and that way they can still follow you, and even we'll have the links there to your books as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we really appreciate you being on our show today and for being so generous with your time and your transparency, about your journey. So we say thank you.
Oh, I thank you for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And for everyone out there listening, thank you for tuning in. And until our next episode, keep stalking success. Well, that'll do it for another episode of Success Stalkers Radio. If you'd like to hear more from these inspiring entrepreneurs and entertainers, be sure to subscribe to the Success Stalkers Radio podcast on iTunes. And if you found value in this episode, give us a review, hopefully 5 stars. You may also visit us at successstalkers.com. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.